What is going on, people? Today we're back and we're gonna be going over the infantry heroes, the best ones for your actual marches. We're not talking about in general or anything like that. We're talking about simply which infantry heroes are the best when you're sending out a march, like an infantry blast, etc. So we usually do this in tiers, and we start at a D tier because F is just too harsh. Every hero has some sort of good in them, so I'm gonna be the nice guy and not give any Fs. But we will start with the D tier. As a disclaimer, once again, the 11k heroes will not be included in this because that's for the 0.01% of the game that actually has them. But if you have them, obviously, that'd be number one. So with that being said, we will go ahead and get it started with the D tier. And on the D tier, there's only one hero here, and it's actually one of my favorite looking ones. It's just not great. And that is Magmaroid. Now, Magmaroid is a great infantry hero to have in general because his infantry stats are passive. But that's the thing, they're passive. So if you include them in your march, you're actually gaining nothing that you didn't already have. So yeah, he's really the only infantry hero that if you include on your march, doesn't bring anything to the table outside of the squad attack. And every infantry hero that you include, as long as they're in the same grade, are gonna bring the same thing. So yeah, Magmaroid, love you, but yeah, you don't really bring anything to a march. And now, like I mentioned, this was the only hero in the D tier, so now we will go ahead and move on to the C tier. And first up in the C tier is going to be Scarlet Bolt. Now, Scarlet Bolt is a hero that's often forgotten, whether it's for assassins or just for infantry in general. Scarlet Bolt doesn't really see a lot of play outside of like maybe monster hunting. And I will say this though, it does have infantry defense 50%, which is more than Magmaroid will give you. So we'll move it up to a C tier, but that's really all it gives you. And as we know, attack, HP, defense, the lowest one as far as the ones that you want is going to be defense by far. And since that's the only thing she gives you, well, not that great. The other hero in the C tier is actually very similar to Scarlet Bolt, and that is going to be Shade. Now, Shade does see a little bit more play than Scarlet Bolt just in general, but it's the same story. Infantry defense, 50%. Not really bringing much to the table, especially considering the other options that you most likely will have available. Shade should be at the bottom of anything that you're doing, whether it's in your wall, infantry, etc. Shade should be nowhere near them unless you have like absolutely no other choice. But yeah, when a hero only gives you defense, they're not going to be at the top of much. Alright, now we go ahead and start with the B tier, and we're actually going to start with a couple of free-to-play heroes that are fairly good. First up, Soul Forger. Actually, it's the same as the other two, but the difference here is that instead of giving you infantry defense, this time you're getting infantry attack, which is way more useful than defense. So, Soul Forger, free-to-play hero, very good. And when you can go ahead and add infantry attack, if you have to pick between all the stats, the attack, HP, defense, if you're getting attack, you're getting the best one out of the bunch. So for sure, Soul Forger will find himself in the B tier. And funny enough, his partner in crime right here, C Squire, does the same thing. Thus, they're in the same tier. C Squire gives you infantry attack, 30%. And again, especially since they're free to play, those are going to be heroes that a lot of people will be using if you don't have some of the top tier options. And then being free to play and actually being able to be gotten by everybody is a plus. But these two, starting off the B tier strong with giving you some infantry attack. Next up in the B tier, we got Big Guy. Now, Big Guy, once again, also gives you infantry attack, which we just said is very good. But he does have the added effect of giving you infantry defense as well. So infantry and defense, also a very good solid combo. And actually, funny enough, Big Guy is actually one of the cheapest pay-to-play heroes that you can get, considering some of the prices of like even the new heroes nowadays. So Big Guy, very good. Although because it's defense instead of HP, it keeps him from being a top tier hero, but a very strong hero nonetheless. The next one we have on the list is Femme Fatale. Now, again, infantry attack plus 30%, very solid. and it does have defense, although it's only army defense. And the issue with army when it comes to things like this is that army is generally going to be less than if you got like infantry specific stats. So because it's got army defense, it's still a nice bonus to have. But obviously if you were to pick between like Femme Fatale or Big Guy, you will go with Big Guy just because it'll give you double the defense. Femme Fatale also, funny enough, is a hero that I see a lot of people use simply because it's a pay-to-play hero, not necessarily because it's one of their better options. And I wish people would actually stop and take a look at what the heroes actually give you, not, oh, well, it's a pay-to-play hero, it must be better than a free-to-play. A lot of times it's not. So I see Femme Fatale in a lot of infantry blasts when they're not using some of the top tier heroes and they have them. It's like, why aren't you using a better hero? So remember that. Even though it may be pay to play, doesn't mean it's always better. With that, we move on to another one, Cursed Hunter. Another hero that I see in your marches a lot. And the thing about Cursed Hunter is that it basically only gives you infantry attack. Same as Soul Forger, same as Sea Squire, etc. So same tier list, but just keep that in mind that some of these free-to-play heroes are just as good as things like Cursed Hunter, etc. And even if you had a Femme Fatale, for instance, right? That army defense plus 25% is not that huge of a boost compared to like a Soul Forger or Sea Squire, etc. So even though, yes, I'd rather have that than not have anything at all, when you compare like what the difference would be, is very negligible. So keep that in mind. And thus, they're in the same tier. Now the last one for the B tier is one that I actually never cared to finish, and that is Prince of Thieves. Now Prince of Thieves, like I mentioned, is one that I never cared to finish just because it would never make any of my top heroes in anything, in any march whatsoever. But when you compare some of the things that he does give you, I was kind of thinking about giving him a different tier, but he does come with army attack, which in an infantry blast is actually pretty decent. But army attack, army defense, you get a little bit less than infantry attack or infantry defense. And actually, if you give me an option of Prince of Thieves and one of the free-to-play heroes like a Soul Forger or Sea Squire, I would probably take the Soul Forger and Sea Squire just because I would rather have that 10% extra attack than the defense that this will provide me, which would be 25%. So Prince of Thieves, definitely a B tier, but probably like bottom of the B tier if we're being honest. But considering that the C tier didn't have anything but just defense, I figured that this at least deserved a little bit of a bump up. Now with that being said, we will go ahead now and move to the better heroes, the A tier. And we'll start with one of my favorite heroes, Watcher. Now I say one of my favorite heroes because Watcher is one of the heroes that at first I had like this awesome goal to finish. You gotta get medals in a specific way, you don't just buy it, etc. So technically speaking, Watcher is a free-to-play hero. And it's an amazing hero, first of all, just in general. But for infantry, since it is army attack, it is army attack 20%, army max HP 25%. It's army, meaning that it's less than you would get if it's like infantry specific. But because it is attack and HP, the two ones that you want the most, definitely puts it a tier above the ones that we've talked about previously. And it has the added bonus of just being a solid hero all around, especially for like your wall, etc. So Watcher, first A tier infantry hero. If you haven't already gotten him or aren't working on him, make sure you do. It is an amazing hero. And the other hero in the A tier is going to be Berserker. Now Berserker is widely known as one of the better heroes just for marches in general, because it is one of the best army heroes, being army attack 20%, army defense 25%, and army max HP 25%. So again, very similar to Watcher, the main difference being that it does have that army defense above Watcher, but again, defense isn't like that huge of a difference, but it is nice to have. And because it is all army, it is a nice addition, even if it is just an infantry blast. And Berserker, if you haven't already, make sure that you're getting Berserker. If you're working on mixed heroes, Berserker, Lore Weaver, and Songstress of the Sea are the three that you really want to shoot for. But yeah, Berserker, rounding out the A tier. Now, we are going to move on to the absolute best of the best when it comes to infantry heroes for your marches. Now, we're going to go ahead and start the S tier with the same hero, but not really. Here's what I mean by that. Pegasus, infantry attack 30%, infantry defense 50%, army max HP 25%. Now I'll put this one a tier above the others because it does have infantry specific boosts, which means that it's going to be more valuable to you than the army ones, specifically for the infantry. So because of that, Pegasus is for sure going to be S tier. The reason I say that it's kind of the same hero but it's not is because there is another hero, because if you don't have Pegasus, let's say, there is another hero that gives you the same exact thing, and that is Grim Wolf. Infantry attack, infantry defense, and army max HP. So whether you have Grim Wolf or you have Pegasus, etc., they're the same hero when it comes to an infantry blast. They're gonna give you the same bonuses. That's also the reason why I never really cared to finish my Grim Wolf, is because he's not gonna make my infantry blast because I have Pegasus. So yeah, Grim Wolf, Pegasus, S tier for sure, but they fill the same need, if you will. Now the next two are going to be actually free-to-play hero. Yes, S tier free-to-play heroes, and that is Demon Slayer. Infantry attack 30%, infantry max HP 50%. Those are the two main stats that you want, and you get the infantry specific stats, meaning that you get the max you can get. It is missing infantry defense, but again, defense is not that huge a thing. So Demon Slayer also being free to play is very, very solid, and thus Demon Slayer S tier free to play hero. But it doesn't end there, because infantry is one of those funny ones that actually has two heroes that give you infantry attack and infantry HP. When you look at the other ones, whether it's cavalry or range, each one has a free-to-play hero that'll give you the attack and HP boost for that specific one. Cavalry being Child of Light, range being Snow Queen. But infantry, funny enough, actually has two of them. Demon Slayer being one, and then the poster child of the game, Oathkeeper, being the other. Infantry attack 30%, infantry max HP 50%, two free-to-play heroes in the S tier, and then another one in Watcher being in the A tier. Infantry heroes for free-to-play, they definitely did good. The only thing that infantry does not have for free-to-play, if you don't really count Watcher, because of the circumstances surrounding Watcher really, is that they don't really have like an army hero, but I'll forgive them for that because they do have Watcher, and maybe that's how they go about it. Because Cavalry has Rose Knight, that has army stats, and then range has Bum and Goblin. Infantry doesn't have the equivalent, unless you're gonna count Watcher as being that. It's just, you know, you get them in different means. And then you get to the creme of the creme, the best hero, Twilight Priestess. This is a hero that a lot of people don't care to get a lot of times, but Twilight Priestess is absolutely the best infantry hero for your march. Infantry attack, infantry defense, infantry max HP. Everything you want for an infantry march, she has. And not only that, like just in general, she's great in Colosseum, she's great in monster hunting, she's just great overall. So Twilight Priestess for sure takes it. If you want to take a look at how my battalion is set up, I'll go ahead and show you. This is how my infantry looks. And if you're free to play, right, let's say that you're free to play and you don't have a lot of these, you will go ahead and use Demon Slayer, Oathkeeper. If you have Watcher, that's a great one for free to play. And then you can go something like this. Now, if you don't have Watcher or have like an army hero, you can go Rose Knight. Where is Rose Knight? Right here. You can go Rose Knight as like your main leader, and then the other four infantry heroes. Just remember that when you're doing these battalions, the most important thing when you're setting up and you're using a blast is that you want to have at least 4 heroes of whatever troop type you're sending. So if it's an infantry blast, you want to have your top 4 infantry heroes, and then your main hero can either be It can be another infantry hero. It could be another berserker, for instance. Or if you have an army hero, a Lord Weaver, a Rose Knight, or whatever, that works too. Just make sure that your main leader, your hero, has some good stats that will actually benefit the infantry. But yeah. Also, try to avoid changing your leader to obvious ones. So, like, if I'm going to be rallying infantry, I'm not just going to change my leader to Demon Slayer, because obviously then, okay, why would they use a Demon Slayer if they're going to send range? You know what I mean? So, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people like to have just an army hero, because with Berserker, even though they're an infantry hero, I can send a range blast, I can send a calf blast, etc., because I can send the 4 other heroes. So yeah, keep that in mind. Let me know what other tier lists you want to see. If you enjoy it, make sure that you subscribe, like it, share it, all the YouTube stuff. Yeah, and follow all the socials that are in the chat. Appreciate you guys for coming through, and until later.